Avnish, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, great. So this is the flow of today's session. We'll first have an introduction, then followed by how to record macros, followed by where do you write the code. So there is something called as Visual Basic Editor, how to write the code, how to edit the code, understanding the concept of variables, understanding Excel objects. So from the code, how do you reference to Excel objects, which is basically sheets, cells, and so on. Then how do you create a simple decision structure like if XYZ condition is satisfied, do something, and so on. And at the end, how to loop it. So that is the real magic behind how automation happens. So let's start with the basic, the first point of Excel automation. Uh, so I'm sure everybody is aware that XLSX is the basic file format that I think most of you must be using. XLSX. Earlier there used to be XLS, but mostly it is out of circulation now. It's XLSX. If you have to write any code or any macros inside your Excel workbook, you have to save the workbook as XLSM. M stands for macro, right? There is also another way. So typically if you create an Excel macro file, you can run the automation only on that file. But if you have to create something which is very generic that you want to run across all your files that are open, right, you can also save something as XLAM, which is Excel add-in. Must be somewhere here. Yeah, XLA or XLAM, right? And whenever you save a file as XLAM, that part of the automation code is available to be used anywhere in Excel, in any of the files, right? So typically you would end up saving XLSM files. uh, I'm pretty much sure that if you've never used macros, you will not have this developer tab. So I would want everybody to get the developer tab. You don't need to repeat anything in terms of trying anything out at this point. You can later on even watch this video and then do it. So just focus your total attention on learning. So to be able to see the developer tab, you should go to Excel options. There's an option here, customize ribbon. And here you will see this option of developer, which must be unchecked. So if you check this option and hit OK, you will be able to see this developer tab here. Right. So how do you access the macros that you've written, or how do you start writing a macro? It is through this option here, Visual Basic. So you go to Visual Basic and there is something that you will write here, right? And you don't need to save this separately. So whenever you write any bit of code in your Excel file, it gets saved along with the Excel file. So you don't need to think of saving the code separately, although there is a save option here, but this will save the entire workbook as it is. So this won't just save the macro, but the entire workbook. How do you run macros? There is this option of macros here, which you use to run macros. I'll show you in some time. So before we start, let me show you a couple of demo tools for you to understand how automation can help you. So I'll start with something very basic. So let's say I've written uh, something in these three cells, and I want to capitalize everything. I want to convert them to uppercase. Normally what you do is you write a formula here, copy it down, and then paste special values here, right? So if you use any bit of automation, so I have created this toolbar. I mean, this is an extremely high level, so you will have to like really work through, learn a lot, and then you'll be able to build something like this. But this is something that I built for one of my clients. If I select this option, see, it has converted everything to uppercase directly. So if you want to use some of these basic functionalities, right, there are also toolbars that are available, there are free toolbars that are available. So after this session I will also share some references, so I'll share some toolbar as well for you to use, which has some of these basic functionalities which you don't even need to write. You know how to use them, and this can help you speed up the work. Similarly, if I want to convert everything to lowercase, or proper case. This is just an example of how an automation feature can be used in Excel. Okay, okay. Just 1 second. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. So getting back, I'll just show you a couple of demo tools, which will have you help you get a perspective of what all you can do. So there is an auto emailing tool that I have created, which I use at a number of places. Uh, so let's say if I have to send an email to each one of these people with certain specific text, which is dynamic text, say I want to address the individual person by name, even have an attachment, all those things can be done with the help of very basic automation. I won't show you the code at this point, but I'll show you how it runs. And this is a sheet that I've created just to have an input of what the subject should be, what the body should be. So you can see there's this variable that I've used here. Just for reference, I'm just showing you. So let me run this and show you how this works. You can see there are 3 emails that have been created in Outlook. These are the 3 emails. I could also have changed the setting to send them directly rather than displaying them here, but I wanted to show you that these 3 emails are getting formed. If I just change this from display to send, I have written something in the code that reads whether I have display here or send here. This is one of the examples of how automation can be used. Let me show you another example. So there is a payslip tool that has been created in Excel. I put my name and Channi's name here. Uh, so the data of payroll is here in this sheet, right? So this can have say hundreds of people in this sheet in rows, and then in columns you can see these are certain fields that are required to be displayed in the payslip, right? And if you have to, like, at one click, if you have to send the payslip to each one of these whatever 100 odd people, all you do is the first step is you create salary slip. So you can see that there are 4 sheets here, right? If I hit this, you can see it has created 2 separate sheets, one with my name, one with Channi's name. So what we've done is we've automated this process. It has read these 2 lines here, and it has created these 2 sheets here. But obviously you cannot email the Excel sheet to somebody. You have to convert that to a PDF and then send an email. So that part of the code is also written here. So if I click on send salary slips, I've selected this option of display. Are you sure? Yes. And here you can see that there are 2 emails that have got formed. And if you open the PDF, this is the PDF for Karan. And similarly, in the other email, if I open this is the PDF for Chandni. In fact, we've used this for many years in our company. Now that we have payroll software, we've stopped it, but this can be used by small companies. So it's very easy to automate certain small problems which take a lot of your time, and this is something that is totally or this can be totally automated. So there's nothing which is specific for any single employee. It's very generic. The data is there, and you just need to create something in this template and send it across. So now that you have a fair idea of what can be done, I mean, there are a lot of other things that we can do. For example, if you have, say, few files in a folder, right? And they are all in a specific format. Say, for example, they are in this format, right? You have to read all those files and create a sheet like this. So you have to consolidate all data which is there in multiple files in a single file. Even that can be done. So reading from reading from a folder, opening different Excel files, reading from those files, getting them into this main file, all those kind of things can be done using VBA. Right? So why is this called VBA? So VBA stands for Visual Basic for Applications. So there is a VBA in Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook. So VBA. So there is a way to automate almost most of the Microsoft Office applications. Uh, the code that you write, right? These are also called as macros. So that's the reason why VBA and macros, they are used interchangeably. Just so that you know, right? Okay. So with this basic context, let me try to record a macro. So there is a very big advantage if you want to learn Excel automation. So you don't have to learn every bit of syntax. You just need to understand few basic syntax elements. You just need to understand how to structure a programming logic, and that's it. Even till date, I have been coding for almost 15 years, but I have never remembered some specific things. For example, if I have to color this cell, right? If I have to give it a background color of yellow, I don't know the code, right? If I have to say put borders across it, I don't know the code, right? I record it and I use it in my code. So I'll show you how macros are to be recorded. So there is this option developer, right, which you get. Go to record macro. Okay, it by default will give macro 1, 2, 3, and so on. Hit OK. Now you can do whatever you want on this sheet and it will get recorded. So it will create the corresponding code in Visual Basic, and then you can check that code out. So for example, if I am typing something here, right, then I color this cell, then I auto fit columns, then I change the font color to red, right? Whatever I do here will get recorded. Let me increase the font size. Okay, so I've done so many tasks. If I want to view the code, let me first stop recording. I can go to Visual Basic. You can see it has automatically created this module, and it has, sorry, not this one. This is the macro that has got recorded. You can see the first thing I did was I typed Excel macros in the active cell. Then I selected the same cell. Then I changed the color to yellow, right? Then I did the column auto fit. Then I changed the font size, the font color, font size, and then again column auto fit. So all of these tasks have got recorded, right? If I have to perform the same task, same set of tasks again, all I do is, let me just delete this, right? So again, this is a blank sheet. All I do is I go to macros. It will show me all the macros that have been written here. So this was the macro 1 was the macro that got recorded. I hit run. So okay, there was some issue because of the active cell thing. Let me re-record it. Sorry, let me rerun it. See. So the same thing what we did in those multiple tasks when what we recorded is out here now. So that's how you can use the recording feature. There is no need to remember any syntax like this. I never remember all of this stuff. I remember only very basic things which I'm going to teach you. If you remember those, if you remember how to create a very basic macro, then all of these things you can record and you can fit into your code. Right? Okay. Now let's try to understand. Let me just close this file. Let's try to understand the Visual Basic editor, this editor that you just saw. You can see that what we recorded automatically came in the form of a module, right? So also one more thing I'd like to tell you before I proceed. There are a lot of advanced things which I'm not going to talk about at all. I don't want you to get confused. So what I'm going to talk about is something that anybody who is a beginner needs to know. If you want to write basic code, if you know this much, you'll be able to write basic code. If you want to learn advanced stuff, obviously there are other resources and so on and so forth, right? Okay. So you always write code in modules. Assume that. Whenever you want to write a code, you have to give it a name. So you basically create something called as a sub or a subroutine. It's short form for subroutine. You give it a name. So I can give it a name, my first macro. Right? There cannot be a space anywhere in between. You hit enter. Automatically, there will be an end sub at the end. Just 1 second. Okay. Uh, yeah. So this is the left pane. So Nidhi has asked that what is this left pane? Can you explain? So this is called as Project Explorer, and sometimes you may not see it. So you have to just go to View and click on Project Explorer. So you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see all the open Excel files. So let me open a new Excel file. I can see two files, right? One is my toolbar and one is the Excel file which is currently open. Let me open a new Excel file. If I go here, you can see book 2, the new file. So all the Excel files can be seen here. So if I have to write any code in book 2, I will insert a module here in book 2 and not in this file. I'll go here. So I'll first select any component here, anywhere I can click here, and then I click on insert and module. So you can see the module has got inserted in this file, right? So yeah, this is a project explorer, and it will help you look at access all your modules, module 1, module 2, and so on. Okay, so I'm back here now. This is where you write the code. This is my coding window, and the way a code is written is you have to remember these few things, right? So you write sub, you give a space, you give it a name, and you hit enter. It will automatically put end sub at the end. Whatever you write between the sub and end sub is part of this macro, right? Let me write a very basic thing, right? Say message box, hello world, right? This is again one syntax that you may want to remember, because sometimes after the macro is run, it is good to display a message that, process complete or something like that. So yeah, so this is my first macro. I'll go here. Sorry, I'll just close book 2. I just have one file open. Yeah. So here I can access the macro by clicking on macros and selecting this macro and hitting run, right? You wouldn't want anybody to do that, right? You would want somebody to click on a button and then access it. So what you can do is click on insert. There is this option of form controls. Right now just focus on this button. Okay, I've selected the button. Now I can you see this drawing thing? So I can just draw the button here. I can assign any macro to this button. So my first macro, okay, right? If I want to edit the text on the button, I can do that. Now that I've done this, you can see when I hover on the button, it will convert to a hand. So if I click on it, it will show the message. So it has now run the code. In fact, this thing that we did here, right? So this thing can also be done with a button rather than um, directly through macros. So what I'll do is, okay, this is my macro 1, right? The recorded macro. What I'll do is I'll just link this button to macro 1. Okay. If I click on this, you can see this particular thing has come here, right? So this is how you run macros. Uh, you can run them directly through macros, or you can create a button and assign the macro to it. Okay, back to VBA. So I hope you've got a sense of how to write the code, like at least the basic part of it in sub, between sub and end sub, give it a name and write the code in between, right? Okay. Any question you can ask in comments. Otherwise, I can move on to the next point of variables. This first 4 points were pretty basic. Now we are moving on to something which is slightly more challenging. Okay. So I understand that some of you may not have studied math beyond 10 standard, um, and I'm sure most of you are not programmers. So let me explain the concept of a variable, right? And I'll try to do that with the help of another macro. Uh, right. So uh, now there is also a concept of initializing variables. That means you define a variable first and you also give it a data type. So for example, if I define x as an integer and y as a string is basically any text, then I can only store integer or string values depending on the variable. But the good thing about Excel is you, and this is the actually the best practice. This is actually a compulsion in any of the other programming languages, but in case of Excel it is not compulsory. So even if you don't initialize a variable, it is absolutely okay, right? I have a habit of initializing variables, obviously, because I do very advanced coding. But if you don't do that, it is not a problem. However, I will just mention how do you initialize variables. dim dim then I write the variable letter, which is say x as integer, dim y as string. String is nothing but any text can be stored in this, right? There are other data types as well. I don't want to get into them at all. So VBA will handle the data types based on what value you are assigning to the variable. So you don't need to even think of this. I'll tell you why you need a variable in the first place, right? So I mean, in most of the cases, you can even do without the variable. But if you have to do full automation, right? If you have to use a loop and maybe certain advanced decision structures, then you need to know variables. That is the reason why I mentioned about variables. So I'll give you a very basic example: x equal to 10, right? So I've given the value of 10 to x. Then I write a message box x. Okay. If I run this code, it will actually run two lines. First line would be that it will assign the variable x the value of 10, and second line is it will display that in the message box. Let me try to run that. I will assign the next macro. You can see 10 here, but actually this was run in 2 steps. You can also do something like, okay, so let me do this. Z equal to x into y, message box z. 4 steps: assigning the value 10 to x, assigning the value 5 to y, using the variable z and assigning it a value x into y, and message box z. Right? So it is running in 4 steps. It will show me 50 directly. 50. So that is the role of variables. We will come back to it when we discuss loops and other things. Right? Okay. Now I will explain you the most important part of VBA is which is Excel objects. So just pay attention to this. So if you write anything in VBA, right? If I write anything here, say any activity that I want to be performed, it will by default it will do it on the sheet which is active. I mean, obviously that is not something that you would want all the time. Sometimes what you want is you want to perform an activity in another sheet. Say I am in sheet 2 and I want to do that in sheet 1, right? So there is a way to give a reference to VBA that I'm talking about so and so sheet, which is through this syntax: sheets, bracket open. You can write the name of the sheet, which is in this case sheet 1. Whatever I write after this will perform the action on sheet 1, irrespective of whichever sheet is active, right? Then obviously we'll spend more time on this, don't worry. Probably all your questions will get answered with a bit of time. Then let's say I want to reference within sheet 2, I want to reference cell B1. What you can do is dot range B1. Please pay attention on the fact that uh, any string or any text is basically mentioned in double quotes. If you write this, it will throw an error, right? So you need to write it like this. Similarly with B1 as well. Okay. Dot. I want to then give reference to this cell. What I want to do is say I want to change the value of this cell, right? So I want to basically put some value here. What I do is dot value. This is the most important property that you will use in automation. So just by knowing this syntax, you know 30-40% of automation through VBA, right? And this is what you will be using most of the time. Say value equal to Excel, right? What I've written is sheet 1 may in cell B1 it will have the value Excel. If I run this code from another sheet, which is say sheet 2, even then it will go ahead and make the change here, right? Let's try that. I'll go to sheet 2. I don't want to run by using the macro button. I'd like to put buttons on the sheet. So I'll put a button here. I'll link this to my macro 3, right? Let me call it button 1 itself, no problem. So I am clicking on this. So it has performed the activity, right? And I can go and check in sheet 1. See, right? And as I said, I mean, sometimes you want the user to know that the activity has been performed. So I typically end my macros with this, right? I will do that again. So let me delete this. Okay. So it has performed the activity as well as given the message. I can go and check again in sheet 1. You can see this is here. So it is extremely important because since you'll be automating your spreadsheets, you need to be able to reference the spreadsheets in the right way. This is how you do that. Now there are substitutes as well. So now listen to this part carefully. Instead of the name of the sheet, sometimes if you don't want to don't want to reference it by name, but you want to reference it by the order of the sheets. So that means this sheet is sheet number 1, this is sheet number 2, this is sheet number 3, this is sheet number 4, and so on, right? This is the index number of the sheet. Sometimes if you want to do this, what you can do is sheets 3 dot range b1 dot value equal to macros. Now this is the same line that we had written. This is the other line which I just wrote, which is basically referring to sheet number 3, which is which sheet? This sheet itself, right? Range b1, again the same cell, b1 cell, with a different value, right? So let me run this and check what happens. I'll clear this as well. Process complete. You can see sheet 1 has got Excel, sheet 2 has got macros, and with the message box. So there are two ways to reference to a sheet. Actually, there are three ways. I'll come to the third one. One is this. One is this, right? The third way is that you don't want to give the name of the sheet at all. What you want to do is आप बोलो active sheet dot range say a1 dot value equals hello. Sorry, I forgot the bracket here. Yeah. So there are three ways to reference sheets: name of the sheet, the order of the sheet, and just saying active sheet. Simple. So whichever sheet is currently active will get this value. Okay. Yeah, I'll just come back to the question asked by Ashish. Okay, before that, I'll just show you. Um, so the third line was active sheet. Which is the active sheet if I'm in sheet 2? This one, right? I click this button. You can see the word hello has come here. If I had run this code from somewhere else, I delete this. If I run it from here, see where the hello word came in this sheet, because this was the active sheet and not here, right? Okay. Good, very good question asked by Ashish. What is the use of this particular line value? So this is an Excel object. So every sheet is an object, and within a sheet, every cell is an object. It could be one cell, it could be multiple cells. Now, what do you want to do with this particular object is this. I want to change the value. If you had to change the color, it would have a totally different word written here. But in this case, I want to change value, which is, I am telling you, this will be most of what you would be doing. You would be only playing mostly with values. I will teach you other things as well, like how to change formats and so on, how to change a color and all by using the recorded code, how to change the color of a particular cell. I'll get there eventually. But for now, just consider that this is the property that you want to work on. So the value property is the most basic property that you would want to touch, right? Good question. Now, again, remember this one thing. You are separating the layers of objects by this dot. So my sheet dot the cell or the range dot the property equal to whatever, right? So don't forget to use this dot. Um, Now, taking one step ahead, this particular syntax of range b1, right, the cell. Now, this is something that I almost never use. I will tell you what I use, which is something that you need to know so that you will be able to then do automation, right, with the help of this. I mean, doing this is not automating anything. Frankly, you're just trying to put a value in a cell, which is very basic. But if you have to put one value or say different values in thousands of cells, you're not going to write 1,000 lines for that. You're going to make sure that you write 1 or 2 lines and it'll do the task for you. So what I typically use and which is required for automation, let me create a separate macro so that there's a whole trail, and later on I can share this file with you as well. What I do is I use something called as cells. Okay. And after cells, you don't need to give it a name like B1 or anything like that. You need to mention the row number and the column number. So if I write 5, comma 2, that means we are talking about the fifth row and the second column, right? So fifth row, second column. This is the cell that we are referencing if we write something like this. Take a minute, absorb this fully, because this is what you are going to eventually use. Range is very basic. You need to understand range because whenever you record code, it will record it as range B1 or something like that. It will never record it as like this. You need to know that if you have to automate multiple cells, you need to give them numbers like rows and columns. I'll tell you one very basic thing as to why this needs to be done. If I have to perform one activity on 10 columns, say from A column to B to C till J, I cannot increment the column the column letter A, B, C, D. It is very difficult to do that. But incrementing a number is extremely easy. You just have to add one to it each time. That's the reason why you need a syntax which is like this, right? Okay. Uh, can we write B instead of 2 for column? Here you cannot, this syntax needs number only. If you write anything else, it will be considered an error. If I write B here, this will not work, right? This is the thing that will work. This needs to be, both of these need to be numbers. One is the row, one is the column. First row, then column. Don't confuse rows and columns. These are rows, these are columns. Okay, so now that I've written this code, let me try to run this code on sheet 1. So I will assign it the fourth macro. See, you have a value in cell B5. So this is very important. Okay, take some time, think about it, no problem. We can wait. So after this, what I want to show you is the code that we recorded, right? How do you make it dynamic to work on certain cells that you define? Because whenever you record a code, it is very static. So if I have done some operation on this cell, right, it will not mention D7, it will just mention selection. So that means the selected cell. So you need to be able to replace that particular aspect of selection to the cell that you want to color, right? Let me add a new sheet. Yeah. So let me record some code. I'll select any cell. I will, okay, let me first, sorry, start recording. Okay, the name of the recorded macro is macro 2. So you know where to look for it. So what I'm doing is I am giving it a background color. I am giving it a font color. And I am also, okay, let me just do these two things, that's fine. So I've just recorded these two actions, giving it a background color and giving it the font color. I will stop recording and I will go to Visual Basic Editor to see the code. This is not the code. The code is here probably, macro 2, right? So as I said, right, whenever you record, it gives you a very, very static recording. Now, why did I record this? Because I wanted all of this stuff which I did not know about. This is basically the static part that you have to replace with your cell reference. So what I will do is I will give it any a reference of any cell. So let's say I want to perform this activity on, say, some of these cells. Right? I want to perform it on, say, this cell. Okay, for example, this is cell F5 of sheet 4. What I will do is this part will remain the same because this is all related to what is the pattern, what is the color index, color, etc. And with time, you will understand what you need to edit. Now, I don't even need to look at it because I've done years of coding, but you might have to like maybe read the lines and then try to understand. But make note of this word. Whenever you see selection, you know that it has performed a very static operation on the selected cell. This you want to replace by cell F5. Now I want you to tell me what to write instead of selection. Can somebody type in comments? Cell F5. Yeah, perfect. Mrinal, can you, sorry, Mrinal, you are slightly wrong there. Yeah, Ashish, you've got it right. Manish, you are the best. Sorry, just trying to be a little cheeky there. Yeah. I think what Manish has written is perfect. He has given the reference of the sheet as well and the cell as well. Ayush is also correct as far as F5 is concerned. You can write it as F5, but try to, I mean, normally when you want to automate, try to get into the habit of writing cells 5 comma 6. So I'm going to copy Manish's answer here. And what Manish has done is he has also referenced the sheet, right? So if I'm running the code from say sheet 1, it will it will perform that task on sheet 1 itself. It will not go to sheet 4. That is the reason why you have to give the sheet reference as well. It's a good habit to do that. I mean, sometimes if you only have one sheet, you can ignore, but you would want to inculcate a habit of writing the sheet name as well. So what I will do is I will write the code which Manish has given. Okay. I'll even write it here, so I'll replace the font as well. So I have replaced selection with this. And to answer, I think the question asked by Ashish earlier, what is the significance of value? So value was, as I said, it's a property, right? This is another property, dot interior. This is another property, dot font. Now, I'll be extremely frank with you. I don't even remember these things. I never write from scratch key sheet 4 dot cells dot font. I never write that. I always record. It is much faster. It's very easy to then incorporate in your code. What I do is I just pick this up and I incorporate it in my code. Okay. So if we run this code, it will automatically change the font and into the background color of this cell, right? Let me just insert a button. Now I will reference it to macro 2, which is my recorded macro, which I updated, right? Okay. See, back color as well as font color updated. So extremely easy to record code and make required changes. That is the reason why understanding Excel objects is extremely important. Right? Okay. So I have told you something regarding performing an action on one cell. If you have to perform an action on a number of cells, what you can do is range. If I want to perform the same action on all of these cells, this is cell F5, this is cell G8. Typically, if you write any formula, for example, I write sum and I select the range. This is how I get the range as, right? F5 to G8. So if I use this same thing inside range here, it will work on the entire range of F5 to G8. Okay, I will show you. Okay, 1 second. Sorry. What I'll do is I'll keep this code intact and write a separate code, like maybe a separate sub. I've copied it, I've pasted it here, and now I'll update F5 to G8. Right, now that I've recorded, let me change the format of this cell to. Let me assign the new macro, my macro 5. Let me run it. See, same activity has been performed on the entire range. Right? Look at the code again. All we did was record. We got this code, which was looking like this. It was looking like this, right? And what we did was we just updated this word selection to reference the range that we were interested in, our target range. So this is how you update the recorded macro and reference it to the Excel object that is your target object in Excel, right? Okay. Any questions? Things are going too technical, going above head. Record macro is good. Okay. So Pratap, I know this is difficult to understand in 1 hour, obviously. But yeah, recording is good. You understood that. And there are only very few things that you need to remember. So if I am able to understand the concept of a variable, even in fact, even this is not very important in terms of using it. I mean, there are both views to it, but yeah, this is the important part that you need to understand: how to reference an Excel object, which could be a range, it could be a cell, it could be a group of cells. So which sheet, which cells, what property, all of these. This is very important to understand if you want to use Excel automation, right? And then the last part, Pratap, which I showed was I just recorded a simple piece of macro and I just made two changes. The static word of selection, which basically points at the cell that is selected by default, to the cell that we were interested in, is what we did. So we just tried to use two different concepts and plug them together to be able to create this. No problem. You can actually look at the video again. If you want to go slow, you can pause and watch. All those things you can do. I'm trying to cover as much. I'm trying to inform or maybe tell you guys about as much as you would need. Right? Okay. So what we've done is we've done so much. Okay. Mm, I think as far as Excel objects, there are a few other things, but which are not important if you're just starting out. So that's totally fine. So sheet and cell, see, sheet and range is what is important. Okay, can we automate copy paste in a range? Yes, we can. Okay, so how you can do that is, again, what you would typically do is you would record so that you know what code is getting generated. So don't worry about remembering syntax at this point. Recording will really help you. So let me show you how to copy paste. So I'm selecting these cells, copying. I'm selecting another cell and I am pasting, right? So I have recorded the code of a copy and paste. Let me see what has got recorded. Again, it is in module 1. See, the code is extremely simple to understand. It selected the range, it performed the copy option on the range, it selected the destination range, and this was the code to paste. ActiveSheet.paste followed by this line. If I want to run this again, say macro 3 itself, okay, what I will do is I will remove these things, right click, assign macro, macro 3. See, and why was it able to perform the operation well? Because there was a reference of the range. If you have to improve this code, I suggest what you should do is you should add the sheet name here so that you can then use it anywhere and from anywhere. If you do this, this will make the code better. Sorry. Copy and paste. So wherever you see reference of a range which has got recorded, just add the sheet as well so that it becomes better. Everything else is the same, no changes. If we want to pull this table to Outlook and send an email, I won't get to that, Nidhi, as of now. Uh, as you saw how we were able to automate emailing, right, from a sheet. So it is totally possible. In fact, I will also share that tool with you with the code. I have made sure that I've commented part of the code so that you understand it well and you can take a look at it. I'll be there for questions later as well. Can we do it in multiple sheets at the same time? Yes, Mrinal, we can. By the way, hi Mrinal. We can do it in multiple sheets at the same time. I will show you that. Uh, Puneet is asking, how do we have undo option in macro? There is no undo option in macro, my friend. There's only one undo option, which I always follow. If I have to run some code which I'm not sure of, what I do is I first save my file. Then I run the code. Once I've run the code and I've messed up the sheet, the file, I just close the file and I don't save changes and I reopen it. So you can see if I'll run the same code, right? See, there is an undo option right now. I'll run this code. See, the undo option is gone. This action cannot be undone. All you can do is you can close and say don't save. That's it. Good question. Very good question. Okay. Mrinal, to answer your question, how do you do it in multiple sheets at the same time? What I will do is, let me re-record. Okay, let me just re-record the same code. Okay. Stop recording. So it's basically the same output. Let me show you the output. You can see the last line hasn't come here. So anyways, forget about this. Let us do it on macro 3 itself. Okay. So these were the two lines to copy the section, right? These were the two lines to paste the section. If I have to paste the same thing in another sheet, I will copy these two lines and do it in another sheet, say sheet 5. Okay. This action will copy and save it in two and paste it in two sheets, sheet 4 and sheet 5. Let me delete this. Okay. Uh-oh, okay. Some issue. I'll get to error handling as well, don't worry. Okay, there is, okay, I should not have done this, but okay, now that you've seen this error, let me tell you why this error came in the first place. It is not technical, just try to understand this simple thing. If I am here on this sheet, if I copy and I am here on this sheet, can I paste anything on any other sheet from here? I can't, right? मैं यहाँ से sheet 4 से I cannot paste anything directly in sheet 5. But I first need to select sheet 5 and then I need to paste the thing in sheet 5. So this was one of the actions that we had missed, for which what you can do is you can record that as well and see what is the kind of code that is getting generated. So let me record, copy. I'll go to the other sheet, paste. Stop recording. Visual Basic. Yeah. See, what it did was these are the two lines to copy, the same. This was the line to go to another sheet, and this was the line to then paste. Now, this line needs to be written only because you have used an Excel functionality of copying and pasting. Had I written a code where I only wanted to copy the value of these cells somewhere else without using the copy paste option of Excel, I could have written a different type of code. But now that we chose to use a copy paste, we have to also select sheet 5 and then paste. Okay. So let me perform this action now, which is macro 5. Again, what we will do is we will copy from sheet 4. So I will select sheet 4 here. It will copy this range of cells from sheet 4. It will select sheet 5 and it will paste the data in these from on the cell F1, F11. Let's run this. What was the name of the macro? It's macro 5. Assign macro, macro 5. See, there is nothing in sheet 5. I go here, I hit this button. It has pasted this in sheet 5. So Mrinal, there is obviously an option to perform uh, any action in multiple sheets. And here in this particular case, since we use the copy paste option, we had to also go to sheet 5. Right? Okay, cool. Mansi, uh, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to learn it from scratch only. I don't know if you joined late or anything, but I've tried to cover some of the basics as to how you get started. In fact, we won't be able to cover anything too advanced because this is a very basic session. Right? Okay, Manish, what to incorporate in our code so that we don't have to delete the output of the code if we for some reason need to rerun the macro? Manish, can you unmute and ask the question?
Hi, Karan.
Yeah, Manish, tell me.
Actually, let's say we click the button for the macro
Hmm.
and the code gets executed
Hmm.
and it shows its output.
Hmm.
But let's say for demonstration purposes, like you are doing,
Hmm.
we need to rerun the macro through that button.
Hmm.
So if we rerun the macro, it will show an error that there is already the output in place.
Hmm.
So what can we incorporate in our code that let's say if we rerun the macro, it will not show any error, but it will re-execute the code.
Okay, first of all, good question. It will not show an error. If I'm performing the same action, for example, see, it already has this data here, right?
Yeah.
If I perform the same action again, it will rewrite on it. There will be no
Okay.
error.
Okay.
But yeah, if your question is, how do we delete this data, or like before we run the code, you have to basically write a code to delete it. So what you do is you write one line that this sheet 5 dot range f11 to g14 dot value equal to blank. Something like
Okay.
that you will have to write
What
so
if
that you clear it.
instead of writing the exact output, we need to write it in a way that whatever that previous macro has done, I need to undo the output.
There is no option to do that. It was a series of programmatic commands, and there is no need to undo those commands. All you can do is you can write another code to undo it, but there is no direct option of undoing anything. So you have to be very careful when you run automation scripts.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So we now know a few basic things about how to write a macro. Uh, how do you create a sub, and end sub automatically gets created. Then you write the code between the sub and end sub. How do you assign values to variables? How do you use those variables? What are Excel objects, sheets, and ranges? And how do you change the property of any Excel object, say the value property, or the interior color property, or the font property, whatever. Those are the kind of things that we have understood till now. Um, if you see, there is something in this green color that has come here automatically, right? How does something, so obviously since we recorded the macro, there was something that came by default, but this actually means that this is a comment, right, which humans can easily understand. For example, I can write a comment here, and whenever I write a comment, I start with an apostrophe. Anything that I write after the apostrophe will not be read. It will be considered as a comment, right? So I can write anything which any human can understand, like for example, changing the value of cell B5 to Excel. right? This has automatically become green. This is, if you have, it's a very good practice, if you're writing some code, also make sure that you're commenting the part of the code, so that if anybody else looks at your code, it is very easy for that person to understand that this means changing the value of this cell, like that. So that is the reason why this thing is green, and this is followed by an apostrophe. So this is a comment. Okay. Let me think if I have missed anything very basic that you need to understand before we can proceed. No, I think so far we are good. Let me create some code for you, just for some fun. Maybe I'll show you how you can do a lot more things by knowing whatever I've told you guys so far. Say what I want to do is I want to insert, say, 3 sheets, and in each of those sheets I want to write something. Okay, let me try to do that. So I don't know what is the code to add a new sheet. What I will do is I will go ahead and record first, right? This is the code. So it has now created the code to add a new sheet. I will stop recording. Sushant, I'll come back to your query in a while. I'll go to Visual Basic. This is the code that has got recorded. Sheets.add after active sheet, something like that. What I will do is I will write something around it. So this is the line that has got created for adding a new sheet. So let me write a code, say for example, let's write some very basic code that we've already written. Okay, let's write this same thing. Okay, this was the code to change the background color and the font color. Okay, now I want you to tell me in comments whether this code will work on the new sheet that is getting created. Will it work? Yeah, Swati, there will be a recording, don't worry. Can anybody tell me in comments whether this code will be able to change the font color and background color of the new sheet? I'm waiting. No. Why? Yeah. Ashish, so it will work, but it will get executed in sheet 4. Yeah. So, no, mini, there is nothing to do with dot interior, but there is something to do with this part, wherein we have, in this particular code where I copied, yeah, that's correct. In this particular code that I copied, it worked on sheet 4, right? So if we have to make something work on the sheet which is currently active, so whenever I add a new sheet, this becomes my active sheet. There is another way to reference this sheet which has been newly added, but let's not get into that. If I know that, for a fact that this will be the active sheet, all I have to do is I have to replace this with the word active sheet. Remember, I had told you that there are 3 ways of referencing to a sheet: the name of the sheet, the number, the order of the sheet, and the word active sheet. So in this case, what we are using is active sheet at both places. Okay, so I've added a sheet after the active sheet, which is the current active sheet. Oh, it was kind of a. Wait. Okay, so currently sheet 5 is my active sheet. This code will add a new sheet after the current sheet, and then it will perform this operation. We can check. Let me, as I said, I like to put buttons. Macro 6. This was macro 6. Okay. See, this created a new sheet and it did this thing here. So you know that you can add a new sheet for sure. In fact, you can go one step ahead and even copy an existing sheet to a new sheet. So if I know that this is the template that I want to replicate to a new sheet, how do you normally do it in Excel? You use this option move or copy. You create a copy, move to end, something like this you do, right? Let me record this and check. Create a copy, move to end. Okay. So this has basically replicated. It has cloned sheet 8. So if I wanted to do something like this, I would record this part, this type of the code. I would then go to, Nidhi, I'm using Alt Tab, by the way. Right? Okay. See, this is what it did. It selected sheet 8, then it copied sheet 8 after this particular sheet. So if I want to replicate this thing that it just did, I'll delete this and I will run that code, this macro here, and see if it is able to clone the sheet. See. So a lot of things can actually be done just by recording a macro. And I mean, obviously there you may need to make few changes here and there, but most of your work is already done here. That's the advantage that you can quickly learn how to write macros. Okay. Now I want to move to, we have 45 minutes left. So let's move to decision structures, which is slightly more logical. Now that you've learned a bit of syntax, I believe you are ready to go to the next level, which is understanding how to build logic into it, right? Before that, I want to ask you a question. Have you used a formula called if? Say I have this number here, 50, 30, yes, okay, most of them I'm sure you must have. So this is how you write if, equal to if. Say I want to set a condition that if this value is less than 40, I want fail here, else I want pass. Fairly easy to write this and understand this, right? It's a basic logical condition. And if I copy it, it has given me fail only for this value, which is less than 40, right? So this same thing can be written in VBA as well, which is, to be very frank, it is a very important building block of VBA code. I mean, most of my macros that I've worked on, they have loops, they have decision structures, right? So let me do the same thing in a different sheet. Let me insert a new sheet. Okay, I want the same pass and fail here. So what I do is I will write a new code. In fact, this module has become very big. Let me insert a new fresh module. So I'll start with my macro 6. Then I will write a very, very simple language if, okay, my cell value that I want to reference, which is this cell for that matter, right? How do I reference this cell? Let us just use the longer route right now. We have the sheet name, we have the cell. If sheets sheet 11 dot cells, what is this cell? 1 comma 1, first row first column, 1 comma 1 dot value. See, I'm asking the question, if this cell, this sheet, this cell's value is less than 40, then, now one important piece of syntax is if is followed by then, and the end of this if is end if. So whatever you write here in between this if and end if, that will get executed if this condition is satisfied. Okay. So if this cell is less than 40, what do I want to do if this cell is less than 40? What do I want to do? I want you guys to write in the chat what would be the output here. What is it that you want to do if this value is less than 40? Take your time, no problem. Okay, Mrinal, that is pretty good, except for one issue in the syntax. And does anyone want to correct it? Yeah, that's correct, Mrinal. Mini, we can give range, but I'll get back to it in a bit. Let us just solve this particular problem. Yes, Soumya, that is perfect. So I will just copy Soumya's output and I will paste it here. Is there a problem with this? I mean, would there be something else that you would want to do here to make it better? Yes, that's great, Nidhi. So you should always, as a part of a good practice, just add sheet name as well. So if this value is less than 40, then the corresponding, okay, sorry, there is a mistake here. It's not 2 comma 2, yeah, it is 1 comma 2. The first row and second column, this is where you want the output, right? Not 2 comma 2 is this cell. So for this number, you want the output here. So it has to be 1 comma 2. Yeah, cool. Okay, and as I said, I like to end my code with a message box. So let us put the same button, link it to my macro 6. It's my macro 6, right? Yes. Okay, I can rename this button. I'll right click and just rename it. Check. Say I'll give it any name I want. Oh. Okay. Why can't we not see anything here? My macro 6. Yeah, that's correct. Sheets, sheet 11 dot cells 1 comma 2 dot value. Okay, because it is not less than 40. Sorry. So let me write 35 and let me check. Fail. Right? Okay. So obviously you are thinking that what if it is not, what if it doesn't satisfy the condition, right? If it satisfies the condition, good enough. What if it doesn't? So there is this thing that you can write else. It's exactly the same as the formula. This is the condition. This is if the condition is satisfied. This is if the condition is not satisfied, right? So obviously what I do is I just copy it and I write pass, right? Pass. Instead of manually doing 1 comma 2, can I use something to refer a cell in the right for writing pass fail? Yes, you can, but trust me, you don't want to do that. I mean, you can use things like offset, you can use relative column, etc., but it's even more confusing. I'll tell you how do you automate this. Okay, so I think Nihar, you will be able to appreciate how we can automate this code for all these three values. In fact, you know what? Let me copy it. Say these 15 values. Let us automate it for all 15. Okay. So I'll write my macro 7. This code is well written, but it only works on the first row. If I wanted to run from rows 1 to 15, what you do is you loop this code. So let me show you how a code runs. Okay, I'll use a shortcut called F8. F8 runs it line by line. Okay, so it is now checking whether the cell value 1 comma 1 is less than 40, which is this value, right? Now tell me, is it going to go into this line or will it ignore this line for this value 50? Will it ignore this line or will it read this line? Will it execute this line rather? Tell me in comments. Ignore. Good. Why? Because this condition is not getting satisfied. So it will never go here. It will directly go here. Okay, you want to check? I will do an F8. See, it did not read the second line. It straight away went to else. Now it will read the else line. I will hit F8 again and there is no value here. If I hit F8 again, now it has got the value of pass. See this. If I hit it again, now it will start reading the message box. If I again hit F8, now it has given me a message box as well. This is how the code runs. It runs line by line. Okay. And if we want something to repeat over and over, so if I want this to work on all the rows from 1 to 15, I will have to write something for that, which is called as looping. It is called a loop. Okay. And a very basic way to write a loop in another, I'll just create another macro just to have a very basic line is, this is how you write it. You start with for. Then you use any variable of your choice, a, b, x, y, I, j, anything. But it is a good practice to use the variable I. Everybody uses I, right? So if you read somebody's code which has I, you know that it has been used for looping typically. For I, this is a syntax that you need to remember. And this is the last piece of syntax that you would ever need to remember. For I equals 1, which is the first row, to 15. Okay, this is the main line for initiating the loop. How do you end the loop? You write the word next. Okay, so the way this macro will run is, I'll just show you how it will run. Okay, say I just want to give a message I. Let me run it only 5 times. Why not? Why 15 times? So for I equal to 1 to 5, message box I. So how this will run is, it will go here, it will assign the value 1 to I. It will read this as message box 1. So it will give a message 1. Then it will go to next. It will straight away go to again back to this particular line. It will assign the value of 2 to the variable I. then it will come here, so it will be message box 2, and so on till 5. Okay, Mini, your question is, can you update the message using before the macro starts so that when we review it later, we know this is macro? Okay, sure, we can do that. So what you are saying is, let me give any message, say, for example, I'll give message box 10, okay, before the loop, right? Now let me run it line by line. So I can press F8, which is the shortcut. Okay, message box 10, you got 10. For I equal to 1 to 5, F8, what is the value of I on the first time the loop is running? What is the value of I? 1. Perfect. So F8, 1. It has gone to next. It will go back up to 4. So now this will assign the value of 2. Perfect. So now I is 2. We can check 2. Again 3. Again 4. Again 5. Now it will exit. So it has done. So it will not go back here because it knows that it was only from 1 to 5. Now if I press F8, it is going down. It is going to the last line. That's it. Done. So whatever you want to automate or repeat, this is what you use, a for loop. And this is what makes the whole automation possible. Obviously, you're not going to write these lines everywhere, right? All you want is you want to basically be able to repeat the same task over and over and over again, right? Now, what we will do is we will try to run this logic of pass fail for all the rows from 1 to 15, right? So let me copy this. You know what? I will show you this part. Okay. I want you to write the code here in chat. My macro 9. Okay, sorry. I think there may be something that you might be able to sort of you might need to know before that. So just wait, hang on. So you understood the concept of incrementing the value of the variable from 1 to 5, right? This is why it ran the same code 5 times. If I copy this here, okay, now I want to run a different code from 1 to 15. By the way, I want to run from rows 1 to 15. So I want to run a different code. What code I want to run? I want to run this code. So for now, let me just copy and paste this inside the loop. Okay. So if you run this code 15 times, my question to you is, will it do anything different after the first time? Okay. And why will it not do anything different? I am running it 15 times, right? It should, yeah, very good. So the reason why it is going to do the same thing over and over again is because you have hard coded the numbers here. So every time it will work on the row 1 and column 1, row 1, column 2, whatever, right? If I update this value 1 to this variable I, and here as well, now what will happen is, when the loop is running for the first time, it will consider the value of I as 1. So this will now reference to cell 1, 1. If it runs for the second time, I will have the value 2, so it will run on the cell 2, 1, which is the second row and first column. Then 3, 1, 4, 1, and so on and so forth. So it is important to know what the fact that the value of I gets incremented every time the loop is run, and you use the same logic for using that value or the variable I inside your statements. So then this makes it possible for you to check the condition on all of the cells in this range and correspondingly give you pass or fail in the adjoining column, right? So what I will do is I will go ahead and run this code my macro 9, or you know what, let's just run it one by one, line by line for now. I know it is a little bit too much to understand looping for the first time, but maybe you can probably view the video again and then it could give you some more clarity. Let me run it once more. F8. What is the value of I? 1. So it is now checking the value of cells 1 comma 1, which is A1. Is it less than 40? It is not less than 40, it is more than 40. That is the reason why it has skipped this line and it has gone straight to else. F8, it will put the value of pass on cells on cell 1 comma 2, which is B1. F8 C, pass. Okay, let's go ahead and it will go to next. It will again go to the first line. Now the value of I is 2. So now it will check the value of cells 2 comma 1, which is the cell A2 to second row first column. Is this value less than 40? Yes, this is less than 40. So it will not go here, but it will go here. You want to see? F8, see, it is executing this particular line. So it has now given the value fail here. And it has skipped this line, gone to end if straight away. Next, now the value of I is 3, and so on and so forth. So if you keep running, you will end up with all the values here. Okay. What I will do is I will stop this code and run it at once. So I'll just reset this. There is this shortcut here to stop an existing macro. I will give this the value of assign it to my macro 9. Sorry, my macro 9. I will hit this button. Here are your values. I think now it should start to make sense as to how you can automate things, not just using static ranges, but performing an operation on a range of cells. This is how you do it. Okay. Yeah, I know 2 hours is too less, but to be very frank, there were too many people, so I just have to sort of just scratch the surface. Can I know how to match the data from sheet 1 to sheet 2, whether it exists or not? Can you maybe unmute and ask the question? I mean, I did not understood it. Sheet 1, it's not formatted well. You can unmute and ask, maybe that's totally fine. So we started with 40, 45 people and we're left with like less than 30 now. So you guys are the guys who who sort of probably liked it. Yeah, it is a bit mind-boggling, I know. And by the way, I'm totally self-taught, so I did not attend any classes, nobody taught me. I just looked it up on the net and I started creating macros. And with time, obviously, you get better and better, and how do you run a series of macros like my macro 1 to my macro 3? You can. So not that it's very important to do that. I hardly ever do that. But if you have to do something like that, if you want to run a series of macros together, what you do is say you just write this word call my macro 9, call my macro 8. If I run this, it will first run entire macro 9, then it will run macro 8, and so on. But I hardly ever use it, to be very frank. Yeah, but if you have to really modularize and separate the parts of your automation code in different macros and you want to run them one by one, why not? You can do it. Okay, I'm not going to run it to save time of this message boxes and all. Yeah. Now I have 20 minutes which I want to spend on something a little bit more advanced than this very basic looping. What I want to do here is, instead of this pass fail, right? Okay, let me create a separate sheet. Okay, I'll work on this one. Instead of pass fail, let's say I want to highlight all those values which are less than 40. Okay, and I will create some random data. A special values. So this is my data, and I want to highlight all the cells which are less than 40 in value. Okay, one second, Ashish, how to check the existing written macro codes? Is there any way we can see the codes? Yeah, I mean, what you do is you click on developer, you go to Visual Basic, and all your code will be there. So you will be in the Project Explorer, you will see all your open files, and within the files you can just go in individual modules and you can check the code. In fact, you know what, if you ever get a file from somebody which has some macros written and they want you to just use it, probably what you can do is be more curious and look at what they've written. You'll definitely learn something from them. Okay, so here is the problem. Now I want to perform one operation on all of these 15 by 5, 75 cells. And that operation is basically highlighting the cells which are below 40 in value. So the code that you just saw, this code, it is only a one-dimensional code. So it is only going from top to bottom. But we can make it two-dimensional and it can go from left to right as well. So it can go both ways, here as well as here. For which, what you do is, you write a nested loop. So basically a loop inside a loop. Okay. So this is only working on rows 1 to 15. But if I add another line for j equals 1 to 5, I'll just tab it so that it is visible in a nice way. Again, for this for loop, this is the next. For this for loop, this is the next. And for this if, this is the end if. So now this loop will run 15 times. And within this loop will run 5 times. So there will be a total of 75 times this code will eventually get run. So when I is equal to 1, it will go inside. It will first set the value of j as 1, run this code. Then it will go to this next, it will come back here. Then it will set the value of j to 2. It will again run this. Then again go back here. Value of j as 3, then 4, then 5. So when I is equal to 1, this gets run 5 times. Right? And then it goes out. It goes here. And then it sets the value of I as 2. Then again it goes down and it starts again from 1. J1, J2, J3, J4 and J5. So for every single value of I, j will have 5 different values. That is the reason why this code will get run 75 times, 15 times 5. Now, my question to you is, what change will we make here? By the way, now we don't want pass and fail. We want to do something else. Yes. Great, Nidhi. Awesome. So last time we had hard coded the column, right, to the first column only. So we were only checking the 15 rows of first column. Now we have to check 15 rows of 5 columns. And you can't hard code this anymore. What you do is you write j. So j will have the values 1 to 5. So this will take the values of 1 to 5. And I will have the values of 1 to 15, which will eventually be 1 comma 1, 1 comma 2, 1 comma 3, 1 comma 4, 1 comma 5, then 2 comma 1, 2 comma 2, 2 comma 3, 2 comma 4, 2 comma 5, and so on and so forth till this cell. This is how the value is going to get checked, the condition. Right? What I will do is I will just write a message box to show you. Message box fail, message box pass. Okay, F8, 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 F8. So we are now at I1, J1. So we are referring to this cell. This cell, is this cell less than 40? No, it is not less than 40. So it will not go here, but it will go here. It will show you the message pass. See, it has gone to else, showing the value pass for 1 comma 1. Now where will it go? Will it go here or will it go here? We are still, it will go to B2, perfect. Sorry, it will go to B1. It will go to B1, it will not jump here. We are still on the first row and we are checking all 5 columns. Yeah. Okay. Let me set this value from 98 to say 20, just to see. So here we are, I am pressing F8. Now the value of I is 1, J is 2. So 1 comma 2, that is B1. Is it less than 40? Yes, it is 20. So you will get the message fail. Fail. Okay. And so on and so forth. So J3, I1, pass, because it was 66. J4, I1, again pass, because it was 67. J5, I1, again pass, because it was 42. Right? Now what will happen? Will it again loop for J? Yes or no? Will it loop for J again? Or will it exit this loop? Exit. I hope everybody is with me. Yeah. Thanks. That was a bit of inspiration. See, yeah, after 5 exits. So J was 5. It will go directly to the next of I. See, it has exited this loop. Now it will straight away have the value of I as 2. See, now it has got the value of I as 2. And now it will have the value of J as 1. I'll just run it. Check this, 1. So I2, J1. Yes. And then it will run the same process again. So now it is on second row, first column. That is why it is giving fail. And then second row, second column, second row, third column, and so on. So this is how it is going to run, right? So I think you've understood how to use a proper loop which runs in both the directions. Now the only thing is, I want you to tell me what changes should we make here. If what we want to do is we want to just color We want to give a color to the cells which are less than 40. We want to color them as, say, red. Oh, sorry, not here, here. So you want to color the cells which are less than 40 as red and which are greater than equal to 40 as green. How will you go about it? I want somebody to type the answer. Maybe you can speak, no problem. Run macro for color change, copy that code. At least good thinking, Puneet. Can you go back to the color? So what we want to do is here, instead of writing pass fail, we want to just give it a color, right? Red or green. Red stands for fail, green stands for pass. Yes, conditional formatting is possible in Excel, but I want you to learn the process of automating this using VBA. But yeah, you could always use conditional formatting if you want to. See, we have written this condition in the form of these within these two loops. So the conditions are going to get verified, get checked in the right way. So all of these cells will get checked for the condition. All we now have to do is we have to, yes, Pratap, that's good. All we have to do is we have to generate the code for highlighting red, generate the code for highlighting green, and copy paste them at the right place. Okay, so what we will do is developer record macro, macro 8. Okay, I will first give a red color. Red color is recorded. Now I will give a green color. It's okay if I do it on the same cell because it's going to just record the code. So it has recorded the code for both colors. I will stop the recording now and I will go ahead and check the code. See, there are two separate sets of code. This is the red one, this is the green one. Why can't we record conditional formatting for this? So Ashish, what we are trying to do here, right, in the form of these two loops and decision structures is basically nothing but conditional formatting. I am sure the way conditional formatting works is like this. So Microsoft themselves have created this feature of looping and doing the conditional formatting. And they've made it very easy. So they've given you this option of straight away writing your condition. Right? So you just have to write your condition and you can get it done straight away. This same thing we are trying to do with the help of code. Right? This code is exactly doing the same thing as what a conditional formatting does. So conditional formatting is split into three tasks. One is checking each cell, second is checking a condition, and third is performing the formatting action, which is what we are trying to do here, right? Okay, so let me proceed with this. So if the value is less than 40, what you want to do is color red. I'll copy this whole thing here. I'll just tab it properly so that it's easily distinguishable. And here again the same thing, but color green. Okay, this is my code. Sorry, from start to end. So if it is less than 40, red, else green. Now, the last question to you guys. What change should be made in this part of the code and this part of the code? Change the selection to what? We need to give reference. What reference needs to be given? Active sheet dot cells I comma j. Okay. We can do active sheet, but rather let's just use this sheet, right? And Brinal, one issue with what you've said is I and j will never be in double quotes. Double quotes is only used for string. I and j are variables which have to be like this without the double quotes. Which cell to be applied with color? Yes, so this particular cell which is less than 40 needs to be colored, right? Else it has to be colored like this. So this cell is what we are referencing to. I get that. Okay, cool. So in fact, the code is already written. You just copy this and you replace this word selection with your code, with your with the correct reference, I comma j. So now the same static recorded macro has become dynamic. So this is to set this particular cell as red and this is to set this particular cell as green. Now let us run and check my macro 11. My macro 11. Okay. Should we try? There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the max you can ever learn in 2 hours. Uh, what I will definitely do after this session is, I mean, apart from the recording, um, I'll also share some reference material if you want to learn further. But what you know is already a lot. If you can use all of these things, you can perform your basic tasks, automation tasks really well. Okay, can I know how